Was my opportunity to have a voice, because prior to that, I didn't say anything. In all these years, especially when I left the Honolulu Police Department, I chose not to say anything because I knew this story wasn't finished yet, and I didn't really have a good handle on what was going on. So now I feel that as I approach going to prison, that this is a good time.
Former Honolulu Police Chief Louis Kealoha shares his side of the story in connection to the federal corruption case against him, his estranged wife, Katherine Kealoha, and several former HPD officers.
The Kealoha corruption trial involving Honolulu's most powerful couple at the time made headlines for years. And while we've heard former Honolulu Deputy Prosecutor Katherine Kealoha via letters from prison, her husband, former HPD Chief Louis Kealoha, had remained mostly silent. But now he's speaking out in a new book titled Louis Looks Back, The Rise and Fall of Honolulu's Top Cop.
And joining us now to discuss this book is author and journalist Mary Xenakis. Thank you so much for being here with us this afternoon. Many of you folks recognize her from her TV news days. And this book here, what made you decide to write it?
Well, I have a unique relationship with the family, the Kealoha family. Katherine Kealoha is my first cousin once removed. Her mother and I are first cousins. So when all of this was happening, I was watching it like everybody else. And then a couple of years ago, before he went to prison, I had emailed him and asked him if he would let me interview him. He didn't get back to me for 10 months, and I had moved to Washington. I get the call there, and he said, sure. I came back to Hawaii, and I interviewed him, and I wrote the book.
Wow.
Yeah.
You must have been so surprised when he called you finally.
Yes, it took 10 months. He called me, and I just said, can I interview you? And he was hesitant. His friends told him, no, you should not talk to another reporter. And but his gut told him that he should talk to me, and he did.
Wow.
Do you believe he's innocent after speaking with him? That's not my role. My role is to interview him and allow him a platform to give his story. He's never given his story. So I'm not going to go one way or the other. I just try to present his story, and I think it will be up to the reader to decide, is he telling the truth or is he not? Because his story is very different from the narrative that was out there. So I'm hoping the reader will read and decide whose story sounds closest to the truth.
I was hooked on it as I started skimming it today, like I'm reading it, not skimming it, and learning so much from these juicy personal details that you or he has shared. How long did it take for you to get all of the information, though?
I got information from a lot of different places. I thought, first of all, I wanted to take the reader into the courtroom. So I got the transcripts of all the testimony of the key witnesses. I put that in the book, his interview, and I read everything that was out there, saw everything on video, and I just had all this information, and I just kind of wove it together.
And Mary, you know what's interesting is he tries to portray himself as almost a victim, saying that his biggest failure was failing to stop his wife, Katherine, and saying that she would say, we can afford all these things. Here's a quote that we want to show you. At every corner, I told her things not to do, and she did them. When I was running for police chief and she came home with that Maserati, I told her to take that car back, and she didn't. So he's saying that, his biggest failure was not stopping her.
That's what he believes. He believes that. He doesn't say he's innocent. He does not say he's innocent. But he says he didn't do all the things that he was accused of doing. So there's that. He does not say he's innocent. He accepts responsibility. But what he describes to me is what he did and what he did not do. He believes that from the beginning up until now, he has been defined by Katherine's actions. His actions have never been detailed until now. If you believe him, you need to read it, and it's up to the reader or not, whether or not to believe him, but he describes his actions, and they are not the same as what the narrative was when he was on trial.
So was he happy with the book?
I don't know. I haven't spoken with him since it's been published, so I really don't know.
All right. But folks can read this book because you're going to actually be at Barnes & Noble's tomorrow, right?
I am. I'm going to be there at 2 o'clock, and please come down because I'm just afraid no one will be there.
It's actually very fascinating reading this, so hopefully people do come down to Barnes & Noble's, right?
We'll
At
take them.
Ala Moana Center,
Come on.
2 o'clock in the afternoon.
It's super good. I recommend it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Mary Xenakis.
Thank
you
you
so much for joining us this afternoon. And coming up, what's next for Servco with CEO Mark Fukunaga stepping down on Sunday. We'll be right back.